Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I'm a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. The journey continues today on February 12th, 2023 at approximately 4:29 p.m. PST. Now, I can return to this world for one primary purpose, and that is to remind people that working together, we can make this a better world for virtually everybody. I bill myself as a spiritual guide because the tools I offer people are the same tools I personally use in my own day-to-day life. And the philosophies of life I talk about are the ones I personally live by. Now, right off the bat, we have Dogface in here with the gold. Kim, welcome aboard. You're in with the silver. I decided to take a look. I've run into some interesting situations in the last little while here. Okay. And it's come to my attention that many people, quite often myself included, carry on down a path because it's comfortable, it's familiar. But there comes a point where you have to look at it and go, when is it the right time to let something go and move on in a different direction? And coming in with the bronze is Christine. Hope you're doing well, Christine. Welcome aboard. I've run into a number of situations myself, and I'm certain you have. The real question at this point is, are you on a current path because it's something that is familiar, or are you there because you just don't know when to bring it to a close? It's just not been a right time. And YJ, you're in with honorable mention. How you doing? Glad you could join us. It's unfortunately come to my attention that certain things, certain of my own, even in my own path, have been going down a road that just seems to be in question. Now, before anybody jumps on that, this particular stream is not one of those things in question. Okay, but I am finding all sorts of neat little problems. I'm not going to go into that on the whole. But what I do want you guys to think about is, are you on the path that you personally desire to be on? And the first thing you do, the first thing that you've got to look at is asking one simple question. Are you personally content with the way your life is heading right at this point? If the answer is yes, then there's no problem with it. Stay put. But if there is even one thing you're not content with, this is a time to really start reassessing it. Take a look at the path you're on. Take a look at the philosophies of life you're living by, the goals that you've set out. Are you on a path that is leading towards that kind of success that you're aiming for? Okay. Now, a lot of this really boils down to, are you following a path that you're content with? Are the people that you're turning to for guidance, are they actually leading you down a viable track? Now we're taught to live in fear. Kimberly, how you doing? Glad you could join us. I've been looking at things here. There are a lot of fields that I don't actually, if you will, fit in comfortably, very well. Not the least of which is current events. I'm looking at this world and going, there are things happening that are taking place. And, I really am in the dark in a lot of it, but that has been by choice. Okay, now let me ask you this. The path you're currently on, are you content with it? Okay, and are you listening, first of all, to your own heart? Are you following a path that is in essence going to make this world a better place when you get around to leaving, for the final time? Or are you creating a problem? Okay, and one of the things I look at there is when you're posting a positive, and whenever you're posting something negative, and I mean negative as in, this is what's gone wrong with the world. This is what's been going right. Okay, my first rule of thumb is this. if we focus on the wrong thing, if we're staying on a path that is not something that's leading you to happiness first, because if you're not happy, I will virtually guarantee you the people around you are not going to be happy either. Okay, it is a ripple effect. If you're doing things that you can proudly stand up and tell most people, I went and did this. This is my work. This is my doing. If you can stand up and tell people that proudly, then absolutely stay on that path. But except in the case of, and quite frankly, it's the only one I know of. There might be others. But you never tell people what you're up to if you've got a surprise in store. If you're trying to produce a surprise, as in a positive event, then absolutely telling people what you're up to is a bad idea. But once it comes out, come right out and say, yes, I did it, if it's appropriate to do so. If you're supposed to be anonymous for obvious reasons, don't come out and tell people what you did. But I'm talking about the positive things. Negative things, those you just plain don't do. Okay. And the easiest way to gauge that, and it looks like we are going to have a heck of a problem. Is it lagging for everybody over there? I'm just kind of curious. Because from my end, hey Joe, how you doing? Glad you could join us. I know my computer on this end, bonus. So it's just my computer. Good. And it's just my computer. I ran into a problem yesterday. I think it was yesterday. Anyway, if you're doing something that you can be proud of, absolutely come right out and tell people. Oh, good, because my computer, my stream is absolutely creating an interesting problem. But I'm just going to ignore it then. I'll just pay attention to the chat on the main computer here, and ignore the one above me. I'm just looking at what YJ said. He goes, we all find one another online, but we're all peppered across the land, out of reach of one another. And that is one of the things that I'm looking at. I really have a very, very tiny group of local people I connect with. And I came to the conclusion, it's amazing how much we're doing that. Kimberly's just saying there's 2 UFOs shot down over Michigan today, Lake Huron and Lake Michigan. I live in between both lakes. Now, you gotta wonder, we're supposedly reaching out to get involved in the UFO community, in the actual intergalactic community. And yet, what do we do the second we see something we don't see, and that we don't recognize? You open fire and then ask if they're friendly. Now, yes, we can certainly go with the idea of preemptive strike. We can assume everybody's out to kill us, and we can react in this fashion. But this is a very, very poorly thought out idea. What's going to happen if we really take this to the level it's going to? We've got UFOs, and we know this. The government's finally coming around and saying this is the case. But why, pray tell, are we opening fire instead of opening communication lines? To me, it's absolutely stupid. It's absolutely... Adam, how you doing? Glad you could join us. To me, it's absolutely stupid, the process that's being done here. We know virtually nothing about them. Okay. Except for the fact, let's just take it right now. We'll assume the government knows more than what they're saying. Okay. But let me ask you this. If we go with the idea, that we know nothing about them, we have UFOs coming. You've got an unidentified flying object. And to be clear, we are talking about people that have shown up that we apparently don't know who they are. You don't know who they are. You don't know what you're doing. Now, when I said, when I posted and put this together, I was thinking on a slightly different issue, but it really does fit. How do you know when to change a direction in life and which path to then follow? Well, let me ask you this. How you doing, Shadow? That wasn't quite what I was going to ask, but I'm glad you could join us there. And Joe, I just missed you coming in, I think. Okay, but we've been following a path for centuries. Okay, and especially in the last century, where you see something you don't recognize, open fire. Open fire, let's shoot the thing down. We don't know what their capabilities are. We don't know what their intentions are. We don't know what their reasoning is. None of it. But let's open fire. And yet we complain when people driving down the street, in some of the suburbs, go driving by people and just open fire and spray randomly and kill people all over the place with no communication. You drive down the street, you open fire. Now, I don't know about you, but to me, this is an absolutely stupid path in life. And yet it is one that is growing in intensity, in case you hadn't noticed. Okay. Now, what happens if we open fire and we shoot down a simple passenger, a passenger UFO? They're simply here to take a look, to go sightseeing. Here's a new planet we've never seen before. Let's go into this atmosphere and take a look. Okay. Now, is it right? You think about this. Look at this in human terms. Okay. You've never been to this community. So you go into a community and, you go into a place, you don't recognize the people. You don't you see people, they are a different color than you are. They're driving different vehicles. You're on a car, they're all on bicycles. Okay. Oh, I don't recognize the vehicle they've got. Let's run over them. Okay. Let's open fire and shoot them and kill these people that we've never seen before and never talked to, and then stop and try and figure out if they're friendly. Now I got news for you. If somebody comes into my neighborhood and opens fire on the area, I'm not going to be friendly anymore. And yet, this is what humans are doing around the world, it would seem. Okay. Now, I can't speak for other countries. In all fairness, I can't really speak much for me or for anybody but me. But I'm looking at this. And, I agree with you, Christine, in some ways. Christine's going, I don't believe it's ET craft. Here's the problem. An unidentified flying object does not mean it's ET. It means it's not recognized. Okay. And if people were to focus more on communicating with each other, let's go with the idea that these are not off-worlders. Let's go with the idea that they are terrestrial for a minute. The unfortunate part here is I've never seen any of these videos. I've never gone looking for them. I've got no intention on going looking for them, because the reality is I am not a video analyst. I wouldn't know if it was real or if it was made up anyway. Okay, all I'm talking about is a cautionary thing. You've got something you don't recognize. Now, right now, we are blaming everybody else, and this goes all the way from from children that are over the age of 5, okay, all the way into the upper echelon of your governments, of the communities that you're working with. Okay. See, and the reality of the whole 9 yards of this is that when you're looking at and I'd be inclined to say, depending on what ship we're looking at, these people, we got to remember, assuming they're human, assuming these are terrestrial-based vehicles, why open fire if you're saying we've got to communicate, or we've got to end the violent side of things? Assuming they are human, then why are we opening fire? There are more similarities between people than there are differences. YJ just saying, I get a kick out of this. Like, there are both sides here of the whole conflict. Okay. But it boils down to one thing. We, on the whole, do not know what they are. Okay. Now, I will tell you, if there's spy satellites, if there's spy balloons from somewhere, first of all, the first thing I always ask is if they are, a spy satellite, a terrestrial-born spy satellite, with today's technology, why, pray tell, use a balloon? Okay, the functionality of it, the weight capability of it, the control of it is way too random. So why use a balloon? Okay, good afternoon, Cat. How we doing? Football. There we go, football cat. If we are talking terrestrial, ask the question, why use a balloon? They are not, shall we say, they aren't very aerodynamic. They're hard to control. People have said, I've heard all kinds of things like, well, they're under motor control. Great. But you got to have an awful big motor to compete with a balloon. Okay. How you doing there, Ozzy? Glad you could join us. The thing is, if we're talking terrestrial and we're talking balloons, number one, they're not easy to manage. Okay. So why use a balloon? And we can go, well, because it's a balloon, people won't pay much attention to it. This is not functional for a spy machine in the first place. Sure, people may not pay attention to it, but on the other hand, it's almost completely impossible to get away and to get by anywhere. My understanding is pretty simple. The path we are on, if it's terrestrial, then pick up the phone. Figure out how to communicate on the similarities. Okay. Well, and then, YJ, you've made a point that's absolutely the crux of the problem. Okay. YJ has said it's possible the balloon is unrelated to the next three incidents. Absolutely it is. But we are still dealing with a completely unknown factor. Now, if it's terrestrial, okay, let's separate the balloon for a minute. Okay, let's go to the three ships that have been shot down. Okay, now we've got no idea about the technology except, we go with what you've seen. Their maneuverability, their speed is way beyond at least publicly recognized technology. Okay, so let's assume that their maneuverability is beyond human ken. And let's assume, therefore, that their weapon capacity is also beyond human ken. Now, the reality is, we know that EMP pulses will knock out human technology. We know this for an absolute certainty. But how, why would you pick a fight with someone you know nothing about? Okay. And, let's go with the idea, well, they know they're hostile. If a race is hostile, Why is this not therefore absolutely public knowledge? You know, what's this? YJ just gone. The second craft shattered like glass when it was hit. The latest one was octagon shaped. Now, I mean, we are talking about things here. We got no idea. Now, let me ask you this. And I'm just playing the devil's advocate for a second. This path we are on is leading to an accelerated disaster, if you think about it. Okay, you have a craft. It looks odd. So you know nothing about it. You know nothing about the people in it, the people operating it. You don't even know what's inside it. Okay, so you shoot the thing down and it detonates, releasing all of the contents. Okay, you've got no idea what you've just released into the atmosphere. And it's not going, whatever it is not going to relegate itself to just the people that have guns, or just the people that have money, or just the people that are leading religious organizations. Whatever was just released is all of a sudden in the atmosphere affecting all of you. Okay. And I will say all of you because of this. We got nothing to work with. So you blow up the ship, you throw this stuff into the atmosphere, and you can bet your bottom dollar the air on the other side of the planet is going to get here eventually. Now, yes, it is going to be diluted by air volume. But who's to say that all you need, that you don't only need one molecule of whatever you just released? Who's to say you didn't just create a bigger problem than you would have had by letting it carry on its way? You know, and that would make sense there, YJ. You know, I mean, I understand the need, the necessity, and this is why I've always held that I've got a great deal of respect for the people that are moving into, that move into the military to protect their community, their families, their country. Absolutely, I definitely support them. Okay, but this idea of flying down and going, oh, we don't know what it is, so let's shoot. I don't know, but if we go back to into the days of the cowboy back in the early 1800s, okay, very violent time. Everybody and their dog was shooting everybody. And granted, the problem children were quite often the targets. But look at the number of people today that are getting killed in the crossfire just by people shooting it at each other. Now, I'm sitting here looking at this mess. I avoid the news, okay? Because quite honestly, I am very much in the dark here. I don't watch the news, so I don't know who's done what. I don't, we were talking the other day and my computer collapsed in the middle of a show. Okay. Well, like I said, this one, the one screen is jamming really badly, or is dragging really badly. The funny thing about it, okay, is if we are talking, YJ's just going on. What do we got here? Christine says they might know what it is and they're not going to tell us yet or at all. Well, here's the stupid part. Okay, here's the stupid part on that one, Christine. And yes, I'm blunt. I mean, this whole thing annoys me for one reason. Okay. First and foremost, if it is due to security, who are you trying to protect? The people you're shooting down, or the ones you're leaving completely in the dark so they don't know what's going on? Okay. YJ's gone and said, the only way shoot first, ask questions later makes sense to me is if it's all skipped and scripted for show. And the media is also coordinated on this, all using the same terminology, false flag. Call it false flag, call it a peanut butter sandwich. For me, I call it just outright stupid. Okay, because it does not take a rocket scientist, or at least I wouldn't think it did, to figure out that when we take a look, when we take a look at things, if you don't know what you're up against and you open fire, okay, is this going to result in them saying, hey, let's be nice to these people? Like, is it really going to point in that direction? Or is it more likely to point in them doing something like, okay, you want to start this little fight? Great, no problem. I do agree with you, Kimberly. Okay, on this one, I do agree. You put all this garbage out there, and I'll call it that, And yes, I'm probably going to get in trouble, and if I get knocked off the air for that, well, let's face it. I'm looking at just asking a simple question. Okay, why are we opening fire first? If it is because we know there's a problem, then would it not make sense to let people know, here's the flip side. Let's say the governments know this is a problem, or that one individual knows these people are a danger. Okay. Is it wise to not tell the population of the planet you're living on, that this is a potential problem? Because if these guys actually get on the ground, if you think they're going to be hard to stop in the air, wait till you see them on the ground. Okay. Problem is, okay, what have we got here? Okay, YJ says most people are saying it's a distraction from the U.S. being admittedly accountable for the Nord Stream pipeline. How you doing, Maggie? Glad you could join us. There is so much speculation about what's going on that it's, in the military side of it, it's usually referred to as throwing chaff in the air. Okay. Now, well, that's exactly what I was talking about earlier there, Shadow. What if these targets are delivery systems for biological weapons? What if this ship that shattered like glass was nothing but a petri dish created by human scientists from whatever country, okay, to be released into the atmosphere? Now, if you think that the disaster we went through with COVID was bad, wait until you see what that kind of a delivery system will create. Okay, all I'm saying is the path we are following, this policy of shoot first and ask questions and keep everybody in the dark, let everybody speculate, let the fear grow. Okay, here's another one that goes right into an absolutely bizarre scientific field. Okay, very bizarre one. Let's say the ship isn't from Earth. Okay, let's just assume that ship was sent down with a whole pile of different embryos. Okay, just tiny little things like the size of fish eggs. Okay, or the size of a microbe. And yes, there are races out there, not the least of which is the Archon. Okay, there are races out there that are that tiny. So let's assume it was a UFO, that it was off-world. And then we throw that other neat little possibility. What if? And these are all what ifs. Okay, which is the stupid part about it. What if it was just a whole pile of other people trying to colonize Earth, and they're trying to get down here, and they haven't figured out how to infiltrate. So what do? There's a ship, let's go blow it up. Okay, we can't get any readings because our technology doesn't pick it up, so we're running blind. Well, let's do this one. Push this, see what this button does. To me, this is scientific lunacy. Okay, and yet there are so many people that are following this same philosophy. And I don't know. I've been trying to figure out how to get people to realize that communication, that working together, we can make this a better world. But it's going to be really easy and really hard to make it a better world if we keep separating ourselves and keep shooting at other people before you know anything about them. Okay, I will tell you, I have not run into, in all the races I've dealt with, I have not run into one that sees shooting at them as a sign of, of passive communication. Okay, not a one. Okay, absolutely have your weapons, have your your tools to protect yourself. But I will tell you, a gun does not protect you more effectively than a shield will. Okay, it really won't. Can a shield be used as a weapon? Absolutely. Okay, anything can be used as a weapon in the right hands or in the wrong ones, depending on how you look at it. There are so many possibilities, and I'd like to look at the positive ones. What if these people are coming here? What if their intention is to come in here, do some scans on the planet to find out where the communication centers are, and then once they've got those scans, reach out and communicate. What if they're bringing technology to us in a way of health, in a way of communication or social interaction? What if they are emissaries for good, for the positive side of things? And what do? They come into the atmosphere before they get a chance to check things out and figure it out, because they don't know us either, would be the theory. Okay. And, they come down with the idea that they are going to communicate. Only what do? We open fire first. Yeah, that's just it here. And, and here's the thing, Shadow. That unfortunately is the biggest problem right there. Communication fails, okay, when it is not attempted. Okay. And, Gene Roddenberry pointed it out extremely well when he made the comment that our biggest challenge in running into off-worlders would be establishing some sort of communication line. Well, that's just it. The reality is, when we, for instance, just put that in perspective, Shadow. Shadow's just saying there's no way I can believe from someone from another world could get here without communicating first. They absolutely, the question isn't can they communicate? The question is whether or not there is return communication. We did not communicate, to the best of my knowledge, with the moon before launching a rocket to get there. Okay, before launching a ship to get to the moon. See, the unfortunate part is, as much as I agree with you there, Star, let's assume that these are all unmanned. Okay, and you're shooting down the drones before communication can be worked out. This is not the sign of an amicable species on a planet. Okay, here's a ship they don't recognize, so instead of watching it and trying to identify it, they shoot it down. Talk about telling other species that you're absolutely riddled with fear. Okay. Talk about telling people, yeah, you come here, we'll shoot you before you get a word out edgewise. Okay. This is not conducive to expanding communication lines. That's the biggest problem that we're running into right there. Hey world, how you doing? Well, yeah. And that's what we're just saying. When a forestry ranger is studying a grizzly, does he notify the grizzly if he gets mugged by a grizzly? Is it the grizzly's fault? You know, the answer is no. But on the other hand, we have to look at, there has to be some sort of effort. And maybe the U.S., maybe the different countries, the U.S., Canada, China, Russia, whoever all is involved, maybe they have made efforts of communicating. Okay, possibly they have. But if that's the case, and they have, let's assume that and this is all assume. And you know what happens when you assume something? It makes a what out of you and me? Okay. Assuming that they have made the effort to communicate and have made no functional advance with it. Okay. Opening fire. Okay. What happens? You go to the UN and you've got somebody out there speaking that isn't being understood clearly. Do we open fire in the UN and start trying to figure out which people are friendly? The ones that are shooting back are usually the ones that aren't happy. Ozzy just saying we don't have a good record, so they could view us as hostile. Okay. Now, here's the thing. They could. But if they viewed us as hostile, if you're going to a planet that is hostile, are you going to only go down with small ships that are already proven vulnerable to the primitive weapons that are available on the ground? Or are you going to bring something bigger? If you're assuming it's hostile, then why not why not make preparations for a hostile landing? Okay. When the reality is that what we're doing is we're stirring a hornet's nest without knowing what's going on. Hey, Mr. L, hope things are going well. The fact you're on the road, thanks for listening in, but absolutely make sure you pay more attention to driving. Okay. That's an interesting way of putting it. World just goes, where are we? Go back up here. Yeah. World goes, we had to. No one had ever crashed a space probe into it before. Needed to be done. Same principle as Roswell. Well, it's an interesting idea, but I don't know about you. I've never jumped off a 40-foot building. I'm not about to run out and try it. I've never gone skydiving. Nor have I ever, thankfully, and there's a lot of you that have suffered this one. Okay. None of there's a lot of you, unfortunately, that have been in situations where people have been shooting at you. Whether you were involved, if you were in the military, it's kind of expected that you're going to get shot at. But if you're in a schoolyard, most kids don't go, oh, I go to school today, I'm going to be dead this afternoon because some jackanin he's going to come in and open fire. Okay. I like the way it was put in the movie Jurassic Park, when the lead scientist says, not the lead scientist, but who was it? The comment was made anyway that people are so interested in what can be done, they seldom think of whether they should do it. Well, and that's just it there, world. I agree with you there. Why crash the probe in the first place? Okay. Sure, it's never been done. Of course, in all honesty, I don't think they've ever publicly dropped and I did say publicly, humans have never deliberately publicly dropped a satellite on a civilian population before. There have been accidents, but nobody's deliberately dropped one that I'm aware of. And you'd think something like that, well, it's never been done before. Let's do that. Okay, the thing about this idea that, well, it hasn't been done, we should do it. I don't know about you, but I'm thinking this is kind of suicidal in its root. And YJ's going, what if we take into account that there's several alien species, maybe humans firing on good ETs because we're in bed with the bad ones who pull the strings? And again, we've got maybe. Maybe that's the case. Maybe we are just getting edgy because we are taught to fear everything in life right from the get-go. Fear the punishment. Even your creator, the one that many of you believe is responsible for mankind being here. Okay, fear him because he, like humans, by the way, he's theoretically more evolved, but like humans, is afraid of everything. So he just gets mad and gets angry. And oh, you didn't do exactly what I said, so I'm just going to punish you. Okay, this is what we're doing to the off-worlders, if these are in fact off-worlders. There are so many what ifs. And yeah, the unfortunate part that I'm looking at here is this is the path we have been following for literally centuries. Okay. Well, that's just it. And I do agree with you, Ozzy. The balloon's probably not, but YJ, I think it was YJ, stated a little earlier that the balloons may not be connected to the off-world craft. But again, we are dealing with speculation. The thing I don't see in like I hear about all the theories about how we are in danger, how we could be under attack, how we could be ready to suffer an invasion. What I don't see, because these are possibilities, what I don't see is going around the world and through the chat rooms and what have you. I don't see people going, maybe these are good off-worlders. Maybe we should stop shooting and start really redoubling our efforts on communication. You want to defend yourself, build a better shield, not a better weapon. Because I'll tell you, you are so far outclassed in weaponry that there is no competition there. Yeah, in all fairness, Shadow, I was having trouble earlier with the lag. Right now, things are running fine on my end. Okay, Christine. Hope to see you in a little bit. And that's just it. I mean, we're on a topic here that, and I'm going to put it this way. If I get shut down because of this one, well, you'll know why. Okay, and with that in mind, do know that I'm still floating around. What's this? Star says I've been watching at 780p, 60 FPS all day. Now this cannot at 144p. Okay, there's a lot about technology, and most of that I didn't understand at all. Okay, but what I'm not seeing running around here, running around the world, and through the chat rooms and through the emails, is what if these are decent people that are showing up? What if what if these are not spy probes? What if they are in fact simply somebody playing around? We got all kinds of probes up there. What if the balloon was nothing but a private balloon that somebody rigged up, that somebody put a motorized propellers on? What if it was nothing but a simple jump the gun on misunderstanding? This is what is not being dropped out. I was just reading football and just said they shut down for talking about the moon. And I keep looking at it. The one big thing that we have to look at, or there might be an idea to look at, is society has been brought up on the whole through just about every religious base that we are alone. That's how society has been taught for the last several thousand years. Now, what if we are alone? And all of a sudden, the off-worlders come out and show up, and we recognize them and go, they've been here for years. We've been saying we've been all alone for years, but they're really here. All of a sudden, what happens is your entire religious background on just about every religion collapses because we've been taught that we are alone. And anything that is not here already is created by the devil. That's evil coming to us to make us pay. Now what if that's the case? Well, your spiritual guidelines all of a sudden collapse. Governments who you've been trusting, all of a sudden there's no trust at all because they've been hiding all this stuff. Now this is why keeping off-world issue a secret to a degree works. It makes sense. Unfortunately, with the advent of the internet, keeping stuff off the net isn't going to happen. You can slow it down, but you're not going to stop it. People talk about developing AI. Well, here's the thing. The internet is not AI, but with the amount of people adding information to it, it has taken on essentially a life of its own. And it's not something that anybody's going to be able to govern. You can absolutely watch for it. But the fact of the matter is, think of it this way. If just one video gets out that is clear, and there's thousands of them there's got to be, with 8 billion people on the planet. Let's cut that down just a bit, shall we? We'll take 8 billion, we'll cut the number in half, and we'll go, 4 billion of those are kids. Now we'll cut that 4 billion left in half again. And we'll go only, half of those people, or let's be really nasty, let's go only 10% of that 4 billion have access to the internet. Bear in mind, I'm also counting and taking into consideration so-called third world countries that we have not bothered bringing up to speed. And yes, people are resistant to it. The reality of it is, if we take a look at that, there is a very simple problem. You let this information out and all of a sudden we have a problem. Now I am telling you, I'm absolutely convinced that most of the people on this planet, 90 to 95% of the people on Earth, are decent people. Same as I'm also convinced that most of the off-worlders are the same way. I asked a question yesterday of people. Regarding what things can we start to actively change in a positive fashion to put this world back on track. And I will tell you, speculating about following the path that we're on, speculating about what could be wrong. Yeah, well, that doesn't surprise me there, Star. Star's just saying she's 45 seconds behind the lead right now. And I don't know, I haven't been listening to mine yet. I've just got mine on I've got the feed up on the one monitor so I can read the chat room a little easier. I gotta ask YJ, YJ's just saying that he filmed his dog getting her butt kicked by a mouse. Of course, my first question is much like what Kimberly asked. What kind of dog are we talking about? But the flip side of that is, how big was that mouse? And this is just one of those neat little things. That is a big dog. YJ's dog is a chocolate lab of an Australian sheepdog cross. That's not a dog, YJ. That's a fuzzy horse. Okay. But that does beg the question of how big the mouse was. Well, if you think about it, the Dachshunds, the German Dachshund used to do the same thing, going after him. It was a rat hunter. But you got to wonder how big that mouse was. But, we can carry on down the road speculating about how bad things are going to get and opening fire on everything possible in order to make sure that it happens that way. Okay. I did see, I saw a dog one year, just getting back onto a much more positive note, if you will. Saw a dog one year. I was walking by an outside patio, and this woman had what I thought was a pom-pom. Literally, I thought it was just a little knitted pom-pom sitting in her coffee cup, which I thought was a little weird, but I didn't think much of it until the dog popped in, until it sat up and looked and this dog sitting inside a literal teacup lifted its head and looked out. The unfortunate part here is we can follow the path of staring at the skies going, when are we going to get bombed? Or staring at the ground going, when is it going to break open and swallow us whole? We could be sitting here, instead of speculating about what's flying around the air and whether or not they're going to open fire and shooting at them. We could be walking around on the ground, staring at the ground, and wondering, when is the next sinkhole going to open up? When are we going to have the next volcanic eruption? Okay, but here's an idea, and it's a stupid one, admittedly. But we've got this idea. Here is a plane. Here's a ship you don't recognize flying overhead, so we're going to shoot it down. Brilliant idea. How about the other side of that? Well, there's a volcano. We can see smoke coming out of it. Hey, I got a novel thought. Why do we set off an explosion on the side of the wall of it? Okay, figure out where take a look at where the bubble is. Go below the level of the bubble. Why do we just blow a hole in the side of it and see what happens? Okay, it's never been done before. Well, maybe it has. Maybe they learned from that. Okay, but these are just absolutely one of the things we got to look at. Are we going to continue looking at what we can fear and what we can say or what we can do to make ourselves seem different than everybody else? Okay. Star Scared is just saying ratters will shake stuff. That's what they do. Herders won't. They get confused when herding doesn't work on stuffed toys. I know a lot of people that get confused when you say hello. Mind you, I get confused when somebody says, when somebody stands there and says, fear your creator because he's a vindictive SOB, and you really have to do exactly what he says. I'm not good at doing what I'm told. Just ask the doctors. They're really not happy with me on that one. Hey, Christine, glad you got back. I'm watching a society again run around in circles, chasing its tail, barking at the moon. hissing at a shadow. I mean, this is all absolutely short-sighted. I mean, if people are not behaving like the humans that I thought they were supposed to behave like. My mistake. Okay. I was kind of hoping that by my hiding from the world for a while, that people would wake up. And unfortunately, they seem to have waken up grumpy. Yeah, that world says when a volcano is smoking and wants a sacrifice tossed in. Sacrifices are like roll-aids for volcanoes and for volcanoes with tummy trouble. Just ask Pele. Yeah, I tried that. Actually, I tried that when I was in Pompeii. It didn't work well at all. Granted, we didn't throw roll-aids in. Okay, but we did find out years and years before, on the plains of on the plains outside of Jerusalem, we did find out that killing people did not change the weather. We found that out back in ancient Egypt. It didn't make the sun rise any faster, and it certainly didn't keep the cold away in the north. You know, and I don't know about you, but pleading for the water not to drown a city didn't work that well for Pompeii. Of course, in all fairness, they didn't have a lot of time to actually think about it. All they did was go, "Oh, look at that!" Now, you look at it in Manoa when Thera blew. The people on the beach were going, "Oh my gosh, it's a massive wave, a massive wave. We're in serious trouble." Right? If that happens on Hawaii nowadays, it's like here comes a tsunami, and you got everybody rushing out to the edge of the beach with their surfboard, going, "What a phenomenal curl! Let's get out there." Now, this is the difference between fear and debatably what exactly is called courage, stupidity, or adrenaline. But I've seen, like, I remember when I was a kid, we had a tsunami. There was a beach up at the I think it was the north end of Vancouver Island. Whole bunch of people were camping in tents on the beach. A tsunami come in, picked the whole load of them up, took them out to the ocean. Maybe Mother Nature just thought they needed a swim. But we have an interesting situation. Okay. I am a little confused on that one, Kimberly. Kimberly has just said, "YJ, I have a cattle husky mix." Now, I'm not sure, but I've never heard of like I said, I'm a little confused on it. What, pray tell, is a cattle dog? Okay. I mean, when I first looked at it, it's like a cross between a cow and a husky, and I'm thinking that's not likely. Oh, okay. Thank you so much, Kimberly. Blue heeler, I know, or at least I know of. Okay, but again, blue heelers are not. I mean, yes, they're a dog. They are a canine, and in that respect, so is a grizzly bear or a Kodiak. But frankly, they're, to say the least, big. The reality of it is, I'm just looking at this and the star's gone. Nah, the Hawaii volcano just wants tourists to take pretty pictures. Although she did go off a little bit back and burn some really rural houses. I mean, I remember back in 1986. I think it was 86. It might have been 96 when Mount St. Helens blew. It successfully relocated a small community in multiple different directions. Okay, but where it comes to building houses and what have you, I personally now I live in an area that's pretty secure. Okay, tectonically speaking, but I get a kick out of the reports I get about people building on the cliffs in San Francisco in that area, and then complaining when an earthquake knocks their house to the ground. Okay, I don't know about you, but if I'm looking in an earthquake zone, setting my house up on the edge of a cliff doesn't seem well thought out. Oh, not a problem there, Star. I mean, I grew up in a real simple issue. I couldn't track time if my life depended on it. Actually, in all fairness, as a kid, I was actually diagnosed with that little problem. Nathan, how you doing? Just a real quick point to you directly, Nathan. Computer crashed last night, right? And it was just like, no, by the time I got it sorted around, well, I didn't actually bother sorting it around until the morning. But we've got to look at the path we're on. Are we going to continue as a society? Are we going to continue shooting things down before we find out what they are? Or are we going to start actually learning to communicate? And I strongly recommend you start with the communication locally, as in the people in your own community. Be that we'll start within your own house. Work to your apartment block or your city block if you happen to be living in a somewhat rural area. Okay. The biggest problem that we have right now is we have been taught fear, 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 fear. This is the path we're going to walk down. Let's continue fearing. Brilliant idea. How's that working for you guys? I know from my standpoint, it's become problematic. What I've actually found, I pulled away from and I'm going to say something here. Understand, I'm not shutting down my channel. Okay. But I pulled away from the world at large because I couldn't deal with the amount of abject stupidity that was going on. Okay. So I pulled away from it. I'm unfortunately and understandably really finding that the global net on the whole is doing exactly the same thing. Okay. People are promoting fear. They're promoting separation. They're promoting segregation. Now, you individuals in this chat room, I find it remarkable. Okay, and I'm not quite certain how I managed to do this one or how it managed to occur. But the people in this room, and we're frozen again. Okay, the people in this chat room are remarkable individuals in here. I've seen, and I cannot give you names, and even if I could, I wouldn't. I've seen some of you in other chat rooms that go in a different pattern altogether. And that's to be expected. But I'm really happy with the way things are in here. And this is why when the cross communication happens in here and I see you guys talking to each other, okay, I look at it and go, okay, this is called communication. I don't have to understand this side of it. And that I agree with that world. The one thing that the internet has done is it took all that was in a lot of what was hidden and brought it out in the public, because the average individual now can, in almost complete anonymity, go, I don't like this. They can drop a simple hint about what somebody is, and people will jump on the negative just like that. Now, I can only imagine what people are saying about me behind my back. And one day I may come to care more about it. But the reality is, we have to look at, and I am talking about myself, because like I've told people, I am very outspoken when I actually get my mouth in gear. And it's usually I get my mouth in gear and put my foot all the way into my hip. Then try and figure out how to put the other one in there beside it. But we have been taught to degrade each other, and the children are not the ones doing it. The children, if you look at the kids up to about 5 years of age, okay, well, really up to about 3, there is absolutely no separation. There's no difference in them. They look at each other, they ignore color, they ignore money, they just don't look at it at all. Okay. Yes, they've got their bad days, and some of them can be cranky. And you notice the cranky ones still get cranky when they're older, too. the reality, hey Susie, how you doing? Didn't see you come in. Or maybe I did. World's just saying a lot of them gossip about how you have the best mutton chop this side of. Well, much as I appreciate that one, I won't actually shut down. I actually told my other half the beard I grow from time to time is because, well, frankly, I'm lazy. But the chops, I think, and it's only suspicion, but it makes sense. My father always had sideburns. Okay, now they were a lot neater capped, but he always had them, and I think this might be part of it. I do appreciate that there, YJ. Myself, I look in the mirror going, are you completely out of your mind? The reality is, there is no question that, from my standpoint anyway, there is no question that I will not lie to people to make them feel better. Okay. And I do have a tendency of getting wound on certain subjects. As we found out in my own home the other day, I found out somebody starts talking about how people are bullying each other. I have a personal problem with that. Okay, and yes, it's a trigger point. Okay, but I am happy to say that after blowing a gasket, I straightened it out with him, and it wasn't him doing the bullying. Do understand that. Didn't change the fact that I lost composure in a real hurry, but the reality that we have to look at here is people are known for looking for, well, what can make this person look less appealing? I mean, take a look at on Facebook itself, and I'm absolutely certain this happens on the other channels, on the other venues I'm not in. Take a look at how many times somebody posts something, and you see this great big post. These are wardrobe fails that happen to these superstars. Okay. I look at it going, okay, so they had a wardrobe fail. They don't want you to see this, so I'm going to post it out there. Now, here's the flip side of that. Okay. We take a look at a superstar making a massive donation, okay, to a hospital, and they take their own, and it says they took their own money and they donated to the hospital to buy this new equipment for them. Most people, or most of what hits the net, is a better way of putting it, go, oh, he's doing that for publicity. What happened to the idea of he did it just because? Okay, I remember just a little while ago, just a few months back, I walked into a restaurant. Now, since I only go into one, it pretty much works out that way. But I walked into a restaurant, pointed at a table, and told the waitress, I want to pay that person's tab. Okay. And I says, is that person drinking? They went, no. I says, great, I'm picking up their meal. And they went, pardon? I said, I'm picking up the meal. Paid the meal and took off, and I walked out. Right. I did it for no other reason than because I had the money to do it and they could use it. I didn't check to see how much money they had. I didn't check to see whether or not they worshiped the right person or whether or not they were sleeping with the right gender. Okay. All I did was went, because myself, you want to drink, that's your choice. I used to. But I don't buy, I do not foot the bill for people's alcohol tabs. But that's a call on my part. That's not to say you shouldn't drink. Okay, I will tell you, drinking and driving is just plain stupid. Okay, and I've seen way too many people make that mistake. But we're walking down a road right now that is so chock full of people going, how can we make this other person feel less? So that by comparison, I can feel like I'm in a better position. I don't know about you, but I find it much more enjoyable on my part to go, what did I do what can I do to make that person's day a little better? Okay. And I've been doing this for years. This idea of if I've got the money, go and do it. Absolutely, I have. There's been no question there. Okay. The problem that I run into, is I do it because that's just me. Now, I'm an abnormality. I know this. And I'm not saying everybody should go out and do the same thing. I am saying that we've got to stop looking at this idea of, I don't know who this person is. I don't know what this ship is. Let's shoot it down and then ask you it's friendly. Now, think of it. You're sitting there in a restaurant. Okay, and let's just keep the bloodshed out of it. You're sitting in a restaurant and somebody walks into the restaurant and they, you've got your back to them so they can't tell who you are. They walk in, they go across the back of your head. And then they come around in front of you and go, are you a nice chap? Or are you a nice lady? What do you think your response is going to be? I mean, this is what humans are doing. Okay, this is in the equivalent of what people are doing and what governments are doing about opening fire on things they don't have a definitive answer for. And we know they don't have a definitive answer because if they did, they wouldn't be hiding it. Okay. Or if they were hiding it, they'd have a viable reason. Nobody's ever come out and said, we can't tell you, or we're not telling you because of the danger to society of what it would do. Okay. So it's better to leave you guessing, which in a lot of ways it is. But, oh, there you go. Carl's just announcing, just for those of you who are not in the chat room. He goes, off topic, it's halftime. Eagles 24, Chiefs 14. Later. Thank you so much there, Carl. There's a lot of people out there, and I know some of the people in the room here are undoubtedly watching it. Myself, I'm a little off kilter. Okay. Well, and I do agree with you, Star. Star goes, maybe they'll learn to address themselves politely to the Earth's front door instead. I'm guessing that's the wrong team for you there, world. Just a suspicion. But, the problem with addressing politely at the front door is the front door for mankind is, at this point, coming down into the atmosphere because they undoubtedly have tried to do it from outer space. Okay, from orbit, where mankind can't open fire. Okay, but everybody that goes up there, the people in charge of the space travels, go, oh, you saw something weird. No, you've got to keep a lid on that. You can't say anything. Well, if nobody is permitted to say anything, a polite communication isn't going to work that well. Okay. But first rule of thumb, yes, maybe they will. But I will tell you this, there's a better chance of that if when they come to the front door, you don't shoot them first. Oh, YJ goes, I'm not into football or Rihanna. I'll wait for the conspiracy videos later about who did what. See, the thing is, I don't pay attention to sports, much like I don't pay attention to a lot of things. But here's the thing. I have never in my life missed gauging on any sport. Okay, who is going to win, except when they came up as a draw. Okay. Anytime that it's not a draw, never in my life have I miscalculated on who was going to win. And I'll explain that in about 5 seconds. But understand, I will not bet on a game either. Okay, same as I won't bet on the Kentucky Derby, right? But I never miss gauging who's going to win, because the football team that has the sports team that has the highest points is the winner. I know this certainly. Unless they call the game and it becomes a tie, the team with the highest win and with the highest points at the end of the game is the winner. The winner of the Kentucky Derby is without fail the one that gets legally across the line first. Hey, Lunar, how you doing? Well, there's a piece of information. My son actually found out just today, or just this morning, found out that somehow, somewhere along the line, he had ended up with Vancouver Canucks jersey, an actual championship jersey from 2011. Okay, now apparently that's a really big deal. For me, it was a jersey. Okay, but then I don't follow sports. Whoops. Lunar's just going, yeah, gotta hit the highway because an electrician contractor bailed. Oh, wonderful. And Susie's just going, it's all rigged. Well, it may be. Okay. The reality is, where it comes to sports, there are a staggering number of discrepancies that go on. And we could go down that road. I'm a lot happier going down that road than going down the road of, we're under alien attack and everybody that comes into orbit is trying to kill us. Okay. Or the idea of, so-and-so has so much more money than I do, so I absolutely hate him. Okay. I used to watch, and I don't anymore simply because of pricing and what have you, but I used to watch the WWE. Matter of fact, you go back far enough, I used to watch All-Star Wrestling. And much as I know the outcomes are rigged, okay, the athleticism and the profession, the weightlifting side of it, their physiques are something to really give them credit for. It takes a lot of work. Even if football or any of the other sports, football, hockey, whatever, even if they are rigged, even if they are bought and paid for, okay, you got to acknowledge, you don't have to, but I personally choose to acknowledge their skill, their ability to perform those feats. Okay, to me, all you need to do to win a game is get 1 point more than the other team or than the opponent. I look at the Olympics and go, the Olympics were originally set up where you had games, sports, that there was a definitive way of gauging, and they weren't all violent. They weren't all contact sports. Okay. Things like the hammer throw, the javelin, the discus, these were all traditional Greek Olympic sports. But you knew, you make that mark, you win. There's no question. Well, you really can't complain about that. I'm presuming, being 1973, this is definitely a very belated thanks to Gene Washington. It's people like that I wish people would absolutely put that on the front page news. Okay. Now, Gene Sparks, sorry, I think I got that wrong. Gene Washington, my apologies there. Gene Washington may have been known by absolutely nobody except the people involved. But somebody going to the paper and going on the front page, going to the front page, Gene Washington paid for this heart surgery of her own volition. This heart surgery that was life-saving for this one person. Why not put that on the front page instead of putting on the front page, so-and-so shot, another school suffers 15 dead. Now, don't get me wrong. The shootings are horrendous. Okay. But we've got to start changing what we're broadcasting. because karmic law is simple. Energy out, energy in. If you're propagating, if you're promoting, if you're, reposting negative stuff, that is the energy that's being put out there. And that is the path that you're choosing to help enhance. Okay. When we turn around and say, oh, this store did such and such to help the locals. Okay. That kind of thing that says, here is somebody, they may be an absolute nobody. Okay. A nobody, as in they're not globally known. Maybe the person only had $5 to their name. Maybe that's all they had. They took that $5 and went, here, you need this more than I do. And I see this happen way more frequently, sadly enough. Way more frequently than people talk about. I just don't bother asking people, and I leave people to their own on that one. But what have we got here? Oh, there we go. Well, now there you go. And there's a nice little setup. Lunar is just saying that this Gene Washington was a quarterback at the time for the 49ers. Okay. The reality, what is this? Yeah. Pardon my, well. Oh. Yeah, Luna's just saying her brother responded to a house fire last night. Okay. When we look at the firefighters, okay, and then definitely a hats off. When I was working for hospitality, I was working for a fast food restaurant. And I used to take the firefighters, the ambulance drivers, and the police, and I'd pull them right to the front of the line, get them their food, and get them shipped back out. Because I would rather somebody like your brother is able to get there when he is required, when the fire strikes, to help people. What do we got here? Hey, me, how you doing? Glad you could join us. I would rather somebody that is willing to go and fight a fire. Now, I don't fear fire. I look at them, and mind you, I grew up with them. But firefighters are one of these crowds of people, and one of these groups of people that really should get far more accolades for what they do. They do it of their own volition to start with. Quite frankly, I'll tell you, I think they're probably underpaid. I don't know what the pay scale is, but I'd lay odds on it. Now, just because, well, I feel like doing it, if you like the stream and you haven't hit like, do me a favor and hit the like button on it. Okay, and absolutely do hit the subscribe if you like the way things are going here. Absolutely do me a favor and hit the subscribe button, and then share the daylights out of it. If you don't like what I'm saying, share the daylights out to people you don't like. It's another way of doing it. Because the way I figure it, I'm doing my best to make every single person I meet happy. Okay, I managed to do it. I don't know of a single person I haven't made happy in my life. Albeit, most of them, some of them I make happy by showing up. Most of them I make happy by leaving. Okay, and there are times, even like today, I had a problem. We had a game today. And it started getting out of hand. And I just suddenly closed the door. I said, that's it. We're done for today. I'm finished. Okay. Because even though I've been gaming now for, well, let's see, 1976. So I was 13 for 46 years now. I've been gaming an average of twice a week. The reality of it is, it takes all kinds of people in this world to make the world work. We have to have the positive and the negative. Okay. And the neutral. Now, do I try and be positive? Yes, but I do have my off days. Today being one of them. Well, I guess technically I was positive. You know, technically, I was positive today. I was positive I did not want to tolerate the way it was going any longer. Okay, and I'm absolutely certain some of you out there are gamers and have run into that situation. From my end, I wonder that keeps lagging. I'm going to see what happens if I refresh it. But we have a choice. If you're not content with the way things are going, okay. Now, here's an odd question for you. For those of you who happen to be gamers, okay, because you'll understand it a little better than people that aren't. I've been running a game. Okay, I've been running a game for the last several months, but it's reached a point where it's getting complicated. Okay, it's getting complicated as in some of the players are creating a complication. Now, right now, I'm on the verge of just shutting the game down. There's another game master handy. Okay, there is another game master in the group that is able to carry on. And I have been, one of the reasons I took over running a game was to give him a chance to play as a player. But he's still been doing a lot of the work anyway. Okay. Hey, Philip, how you doing? Glad you could join us. So the question from my standpoint, guys, is in your eyes, like I've reached a point where I'm really at that crossroads of should I close the game itself down and let somebody take over and just say, scrap it. I'm just going to run a character and be done with it. Or because some of the players are still enjoying it, in your guys' opinion, is it still wise to carry the game on? Okay. I just haven't quite figured out which way to go with it, but I've hit that point where I'm really at a crossroads on it. Okay. And I will put this to I will say this. Like I mentioned, this chat room, I'm absolutely going to keep running with. Oh, there you go. Well, honestly, Philip, Philip's gone, I'm sleepy. How about you? And I'm looking at it going, well, I really was. I was starting to get tired. And then, of course, so I was literally sitting on my couch, getting a little sleepier. And I went, wait a minute, my alarm just went off telling me my radio show is supposed to come on. My live stream is supposed to come on. And bang, because of the way I get treated in this room, okay, because of the support I get from you guys, it's like, no, this will help. So I got up, got things organized, and well, here I am. Hey Nathan, I'm glad the lag finally got rid of it. What have we got? I've been using, Nathan's going, finally, no lag. I've been trying to use my phone, but was lagging so bad on the laptop now. So I mean, from my standpoint, the thing that woke me up was the fact that I realized I've been trying, aside from Thursday nights, I've been doing my best to come online at 4:30 every, the other 6 days. To me, this is not a lot of work. Okay, trying to make the computer work, that's a challenge. Joe, what do we got? Halftime show. Uh-oh. Joe, you call it a spoiler, but I'll tell you, for the people that don't watch it and that want to but don't have the opportunity to watch it, that so-called spoiler brings them up to speed. Like for me, I don't watch sports at all, but I know people that do. My ex being one of them, and yes, we actually still get along. And knowing what's going on in a case like that, whether as it was suggested the game is rigged or not, doesn't matter. It is still part of the positive side of social interaction for the most part. What do we got? Yeah, Christine goes, I like the appetizers, the commercials, and the halftime show. Don't care about how many baskets they shoot in a game. You know, I'm hoping nobody ever shoots a basket in the game. They talk about shooting baskets or shooting hoops. And, in all of that time, I've never once seen somebody, and I hope I never do, I've never once seen somebody walk in and actually open fire with a gun. I don't see the purpose of it anyway, but it's another form of shooting things. The reality of it from my end is simple. When we focus on the positive things in life, when we focus on the similarities between each other, and we work on the communication lines, we can absolutely make things change. Okay, we absolutely have the power to swap that around. And we will have to give a shout out to Susie B here, because Christine's just saying Susie B is a famous tamale maker. Hers are the best. I'm guessing, and now I don't, in all honesty, and this is why I say my knowledge in certain areas, in a lot of areas, is pretty limited. I know the term hot tamales. What I don't know is what a tamale actually is, other than some form of food. But I will tell you that I would rather somebody promote that sort of thing than so and so got ripped off today. I mean, the bad things are things that happen. Some people have to root for the referees. I mean, you got to look at the situation the referees are in. When I was in high school, because I destroyed my knee. Because I had destroyed my knee, I ended up doing the record keeping and the score keeping and measuring distances. And so technically I was an official. And I'm standing there in grade 9. I couldn't take part in any of the sports. So I'm standing there measuring the shot put distance. Well, danged if the guy didn't throw off. The shot put hit the ground and then hit my bad leg halfway up the shin. Right. Literally in a matter of seconds, my foot was the size of my thigh. And I mean, I was the ref, and I've seen in some of the few games I've watched, referees do their best to stay out of the way, still get torpedoed. I appreciate the input there, Ozzy. Oh, yeah, thank you so much, because I've got to sort it out. I've got a week before the game starts. I'm going to have to make a decision before that. What have we got here? Yeah, Susie's just so this is what a tamale is. Where are we here? Shredded beef and red sauce tucked into a steamed corn pasta with flavors and rolled into a corn husk. Honestly, never tried one. Of course, I've never seen a place up here. Bear in mind, I only go to one restaurant. That might be the problem. Okay. I'm presuming that is a Mexican dish. The tamale, I mean. Well, I'll tell you, Ozzy, if you're having a boring salad for lunch, and I used to do this when I was eating a salad, if I had a really boring salad, I just take Tabasco sauce and put it on top of it. All of a sudden, it really made it a little warmer, a little more exciting. Okay, Susie B, I do appreciate that. Thank you. Maybe one of these days I'll actually go to the Mexican place around here. And there is a Mexican place that I've heard reasonable things on. And that might be an idea. I have decided I'm going to expand my palate. Okay, and see what comes up. But when you reach, and this is in all fairness, there, Ozzy. When I made that when I came up with this issue of the topic that I came to. How do you change? How do you know when to change direction in life, and which path to then follow? It was triggered by a thought that I literally was going through this. Now, I'm not about to give up gaming. I've been doing it for 46 years. I'm not about damned. But when you don't have the tolerance for it, and I'm finding this in a lot of cases, that it's really this stream here is literally one of those few things. Yeah, and I agree with you there, Lunar. One of the things, because I have to eat a high level of meat, okay, of red meat, not just, and this idea that you can have a vegetarian food, this is a no meat fish. I was looking for fish sticks, picked this up, and I have to be out shopping with my ex because I have the transport. And she goes, you might want to know, Keith, this is a non-fish fish. I looked at it and went, well, I don't need a non-fish fish. If I want a non-fish fish, I'll go and buy a head of cabbage. And I'll call it fish. I don't need to pay the extra for it. What are we here? Susie just thinking they make chicken tamales also. Those are in a green sauce, which is tomatillo, usually. Gee, I thought the green sauce was guacamole. Of course, in all fairness, not the best connoisseur to talk to about what is what. Yeah, see, Aussie used to race down drones on DCL. Became number one on Xbox a few months later and gave it up because they didn't want to compete every week. Yeah, well, sadly, this is where and I call it chosen ignorance because I've never gone out of my way to really expand my palate. At this point, I decided to. Here I am, 59 years in age, and I'm going. There's a lot of food I haven't actually tried. There's a lot of things I haven't actually done, even at this age, and now I don't have the money to do most of them. But this sort of thing is just one of those little issues that we have to look at. The path you're currently on. Now, if I go back just a year, okay, I wasn't paying attention to what I was eating. I wasn't paying attention to any of it. And I hit a certain weight and went, no, this is a signal. My life has to change now. Well, society has to wake up and get the message that opening fire on other people is not actually getting the message across that you're nice. Okay, I heard a teenager out of the States one day. He came up with an interesting post on Facebook. I have no idea who it was, no idea where from. This is just something I remember from last year. And he came up. Oh, shoot. I just went back through a bunch of that and got a whole list of ships together. Where are we here? Okay, Saint. That is an excellent question. Thank you so much for that. So I am going to go and piece that together. Not likely today. Well, not at least for the next hour-ish. Where are we? 20 minutes-ish. But that I have to deal with. Okay. Because I know, but I've actually got a document together now. I didn't pull it up before the show, but I've actually got a document put together now where if somebody asks about a ship, I can pull the document up and without going for a whole pile of searching, I can go down the document because it's on an Excel file for me. And it'll tell me This is the race that runs that ship that I'm aware of, and I can look for it either by race or by ship. Okay, so I'll be able to pull that up. Well, the next stunt is to do the same idea with the different races. So when somebody says, because I do not remember all of them all the time, this is why I've got them documented. Okay. Oh, that's wonderful there, Philip. Philip goes, apparently there were no gruesome crimes locally, so they had to report on a gruesome murder from the opposite side of the country. So all good news within 2,500 miles. You know, and from that standpoint, you know, oh, there you go, Lunar. That's one area of gaming I've never done. Lunar's just trying online gaming. And the reality of it from my standpoint, I've never tried the online gaming because I have way too many problems with computers. But I do recommend you give it a shot. If you can find somebody local that's even meant to do it face to face with, that's even better. Okay. Now, yeah, unfortunately, Philip, we've had a lot of reports, myself included, that really came up with a problem with lagging. Okay. And I did that at the beginning, but let's see if I can find the document. I've got the document up. I do. Okay. Let's give a shout out to somebody that we actually unfortunately don't see in the chat room very much. But this chap and this website is responsible for me. The people there on Spaced Out Radio are responsible for my actually getting into doing any of this video stuff at all. Because the encouragement I got from being on Spaced Out Radio, and in all fairness, I've been doing this since March 6th of 21. So at that point, bearing in mind I'm going in my 8th year here, I think. We go back 3 years or 2 years. So I was on Spaced Out for a good 6 years before I actually broadcast my first day. My first post. But absolutely, if you haven't checked them out, oh, there you go, Philip. If you haven't checked out Spaced Out, absolutely drop in. Now I'm personally there only on the first Friday of every month, from 7 to 9 p.m. Pacific. But Dave's always got a lot of really neat topics going on. Now Nathan, who happens to be on the show here, or he happens to be listening in. Okay, this is his. Now this is a show I was on the other day, and in the middle of the show, my computer capped out, so I just disappeared off the map. Okay, so unfortunately, I ended up disappearing because I just didn't have a choice. The computer collapsed. The last time it collapsed, it took me 20 minutes to reset it. And by then it was, I was already tired at that point. And then what happened to it? It went away. There. And of course, we've seen Shadow in here quite a lot. And World. So we're getting to those just as quick as we can here. Just because we can. One of those neat little things about doing things in my own way. And there's a pop to Shadow. Absolutely check him out. Check out that sounded wrong. Absolutely check out his YouTube channel. He's got some really neat ideas in there on the work he's doing. Okay. And then we come back up here, bring that up, and we bring up this wonderfully well-known individual. I think Chad is in here. I'm not entirely certain. Hey, not a problem there, Phil. Glad to help. See if we take that and we copy that. Who is this? And this is Chad, who we all have seen in here regularly. Okay. Absolutely drop in, take a look at his. And again, with all of these channels, if you spot them, if you go over, give them a thumbs up if you like them and subscribe to the channel. I've done both on all of them. I keep looking for this other one here. And we have been world has been very active, especially today. Whoop, that didn't work. I'm just having trouble. The computer decided it wanted to argue with me. Here we go. Now, world's been really, really active in here today, and today especially, but he's always in here, always making an effort to drop in and say hi. So there's the link to worlds. And the reality of this is, in my opinion, we got 8 billion people on the planet, which means we got at least 2 billion different viewers, okay, that are accessible. Maybe a little more, maybe a little less, I don't know, but when we're dealing with billions, and I'm dealing with a total of 406 subscribers right now, I mean, let's face it, telling people going, take a look at these people, is not, in my opinion, it's not going to cause a problem. But so where is the last one? I keep losing that because it goes into hiding. And yes, I've got a screen above this one that I can actually see a little easier. Here we are, BMR. Here we have Michigan Bob's Bay. This is Bigfoot Michigan Bob. I believe that's how it's put. I'm not reading it right this second, but let's take a look at this. And we paste that. Yeah, Bigfoot, Michigan Rob. Again, he's another guy that does some incredible work, some incredible research. Hey, what we got? Oh, Luna's going, my hand is a registered weapon. So many people told me. Luna, she goes, got cracked in the head. From my standpoint, it's a real simple issue. Okay. I should, my mouth should be listed as a lethal weapon because, it goes into hyperdrive way too fast without my actually controlling it. But I haven't figured out how to get a leash on it. What do we got here? Oh, this is one that I just got, and I haven't actually seen her come into the room. Okay. But I just got this one handed to me. This is, what is this? Restore Belief with Nikki. Okay. There you go. I just got that site from her the other day. So I figured let's add it to the list. And yeah, Philip's just saying here, English is the trade and business, diplomatic, and internet language all over the world, which is really unique and really interesting when you think about it, because I don't think it's one of the more. I didn't think it was one of the more common languages. I know English. We basically make it up as we go along. I'm sure of it, especially with some of the words that get put together. Thankfully, English I understand, sort of. It's the rest of the languages I run into problems with. But no, the reality we have to look at is the path we've been following, the path you've been following. Okay. Is it the path you're content with? Okay. If not, what are you going to do about it? Okay. And I mean, if we think back to different strokes, I believe that went, something to the effect of, and not the accent, but the terminology was what you talk about, Willis. Okay. Interesting. NK Dude believes he has a birthright to what would be the real question. I mean, everybody's got a birthright. And I will tell you this, regardless of what anybody tells you, nobody, absolutely nobody, can be wrong in their opinion. Okay. The facts you operate on, the information you're working with may be erroneous, it may be misleading, but your opinion cannot be wrong. Okay. And I mean, I've run into people all over the world, usually by the internet at this point, because let's face it, I don't travel a whole lot. Especially after COVID hit, I just, traveling was just one of those things I went, not going to happen right now. And of course, being unemployed really causes a problem, at least for the primary. Hey, Dialogue, how you doing? Glad you could join us. The reality of it is this. Okay, the path that you're following right now, like I'm very seriously, I think what I'm going to do when I get done this stream, just to let my brain settle, is I think I'm likely going to, just in case, build a secondary and build a character that, and just in case I do decide to close the game down, so I've already got one built. Oh, I think I'm going to do that. It's a great way to kill off a couple of minutes. The worst game I ever had, in all fairness, I ended up going through 7 characters in one night. 7 brand new characters in one night. The guy I game with regularly went through 8. 8 of his own on a different night. But I'm looking at the path that we're on right now. Now, the one thing I know of, okay, is this live stream is staying active. The books I've been writing, I am staying with, and I am going to finish getting them out. Okay, which means for the next 15, 20 years, given that I don't drop dead permanently before that, I will still be writing. I went through all my books the other day, the ones I've been writing, to check my inventory, and I'm happy to say that I've got lots in stock, so I don't have a problem with them. But it is time for me to start advertising and pushing that side of it. Yeah, Phil's just going, I was watching a British detective show, and they used the expression highfalutin. Gee, that is an old term. I haven't heard that since my last lifetime. Well, no, I heard it this lifetime early on. That it originally referred to the top of the most expensive seats on the Mississippi River boats. Oh, yeah, the neat little part there is, when you take a look at the people that sat up there, most of them sat up there because they were better than the others. The same thing happened in the Titanic. The rich people were all on the top of the Titanic. And, it was really, really sad, but really entertaining in one sense. They thought they were better than everybody else, so they sat on the top tiers. That's the way society is set up, so I can't really blame the individual. But they sat on the top of the boat. But you notice something rather remarkable? When the Titanic went down, the rich people didn't survive any better than the poor people did. They still ended up drowning. Because I'm not sure why, but it turns out the Atlantic Ocean didn't care what their pocketbook looked like. It was quite willing to draw them to the bottom. Yeah. The funny part there, Lunar. Okay. I get a kick out of that. Luna, and this may well be out of context, but Luna says attempted suicide is not a good idea. The funny part is that attempted suicide, you're looked at and they go, okay, you need serious help. Okay. But if you commit suicide, it's a crime. Okay. Now, I don't know. I know it comes from back in the Middle Ages when the kings had this brilliant idea they owned everybody. So killing one of their subjects was a crime. In today's world, what are you going to do? Put the person in lockup until rigor mortis sets in, or until they smell worse than they already did. I'm just looking. This is what I was referring to a while back about the crimes that are still on the books. I mean, don't get me wrong. The suicide is definitely not a good shot. It just doesn't. I've never personally. Have I been depressed in the past? Certainly. Have I been depressed in the past to the point of trying to commit suicide? No. But I was curious enough one day to almost do it. No, it really doesn't. It'll make that wet too. Same as wildfires. They don't care what people, and wildfires, tornadoes, don't care what people are feeling like, who they worship, who they vote for. They don't care. They will come in, they'll clean the whole area out. Nathan, whoa. Uh-oh. Oh, that is unfortunate, Nathan. I mean, my sympathies to the people left behind, or my condolences to the people left behind, my sympathies to the ones that actually survived and just got really badly banged up. But I do agree with you, unfortunately. And again, this is the issue. In case you're not in the chat room and you're listening to this, Nathan from the Quantum Show is just stating there was another ship disaster, the SS Eastland in Chicago on the river, killed 844 people. Just was full of worker class. Hence, no movie, no glitz. This happened way back in 1915, 3 years after the Titanic went down. But this sort of thing, I mean, it's a terrible tragedy. Okay. But, the reality is that society has said, you're working class, therefore, you're not as valuable. You don't draw as much attention. And yet, when we take a look at the so-called celebrities, people look at them when they do something good and go, they're doing it just for publicity. There are celebrities out there that do it just because that's what they'd like to do and what they desire to do. Now, one day, maybe I will end up, possibly, I will end up in a position where I've got a whole pile of extra money that I don't have to worry about. Okay. And at that point, if I turn around and make a donation, you can bet your bottom dollar it won't be for a political thing, and it won't be to a nonprofit organization, or for that matter, a registered charity. And I have my own personal reasons for that. All of those people, by the way, are usually good investments. From my standpoint, I will look at the working poor, the people that are out there struggling to make ends meet and just don't get a break to start with. Okay, there's a lot of things I'd like to be able to do. Ozzy just going, I agree. I've seen a few natural disasters. Mother Nature doesn't stop for no one. Well, she actually writes that Mother Nature don't stop for no one. And of course, then Lunar adds, there's a lot of pretty crystals, etc., to look for after the rains and overburden. Absolutely, because you get that kind of wash, and all of a sudden you can come up with all sorts of really neat trinkets. Now, I will tell you, since we brought gems into the picture, let's go sideways here. Okay. Oh, thank you so much for being here there, Shadow. Absolutely. You know, when we take a look at diamonds, everybody says they're the diamond's best friend, they're a woman's best friend. Diamonds are one, from my understanding, one of the most common rocks on the planet. But they had a heck of a marketing deal done. Now, on that note, okay, because we're hitting the 2-hour mark, well, we just hit it. I am going to say once again, if you like the video, if you like the stream, do give us a thumbs up, hit that subscribe channel, and absolutely share the daylights out of it. I will be back. Tomorrow's Monday, so I will be back again tomorrow, unless I end up dying or something odd like that. But until then, take care of yourselves and each other, and for pity's sakes, stay positive.